Good morning, you're watching World News and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. The entire world is wondering when and on what terms the war in Ukraine will end as the American negotiated peace deal looms on the horizon. We will find out hopefully in the coming weeks. On Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump spoke over the phone with Vladimir Putin, following it up with a conversation with Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Trump said that Ukraine is unlikely to get all its land back and the country's accession to NATO would not be practical.
No, we had a great call, and it lasted for a long time, over an hour this morning. I also had with President Zelenskyy a very good call after that. And I think we're on the way to getting peace. I think President Putin wants peace, and President Zelenskyy wants peace, and I want peace. I just want to see people stop getting killed.
I think when the war ends, one thing he was very strong about, if it ends, he wants it to end. And that's President Putin said that. He wants it to end. He doesn't want to end it and then go back to fighting 6 months later. We talked about the possibility, I mentioned it, of a ceasefire so we can stop the killing. And I think we'll probably end up at some point getting a ceasefire in the not too distant future.
In his nightly address to Ukrainians, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said that the call with Trump was substantive.
Today, I had a good and detailed conversation with President Trump. I am grateful to the President for his sincere interest in our shared potential and how we can work together to achieve real peace. It was a lengthy discussion covering many diplomatic, military and economic nuances. President Trump also shared with me of what Putin told him. We trust that America's strength, together with our efforts and those of all our partners, will be enough to pressure Russia and Putin into peace.
While in Kyiv, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters that the rare earths deal between the United States and Ukraine would provide Kyiv with a post-war security shield. President Zelenskyy revealed that he hoped two sides can reach an agreement later this week.
We very much want it because the United States of America are our main partners. They are our strategic partners. We will do everything to review all details of the document. We will do everything to do it before the Munich conference because we don't want to lose time.
The United States and Ukraine, we have shared values, we have shared security, and we would like to further intertwine our shared economics, and we believe that this is an important signal to the world, to the Russian leadership, that we stand together, and by increasing our economic commitment through a partnership with the government and the people of Ukraine, that it will provide, once this conflict is over, it will provide a long-term security shield for all Ukrainians. I believe that this document is important in terms of President Trump's vision for solving this conflict quickly. We believe that it provides the further guarantees for the Ukraine people of American assistance. Two, I believe that it provides a very strong signal to Russian leadership of the American commitment.
Donald Trump has said he doesn't think Ukraine's membership in NATO is practical. Speaking from the Oval Office on Wednesday, Trump echoed U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who also called Ukraine's accession to NATO unlikely. Trump went on to discuss his potential negotiations with Vladimir Putin and announced that he will meet the Russian leader most likely in Saudi Arabia.
I don't think it's practical to have it, personally. I know that our new Secretary of Defense, who's excellent, Pete, made a statement today saying that he thinks it's unlikely or impractical. I think probably that's true. I think long before President Putin, they said there's no way they'd allow that. I'll be dealing with President Putin largely on the phone, and we ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here and I'll go there, and we're going to meet also probably in Saudi Arabia. The first time we'll meet in Saudi Arabia, see if we can get something done.
NATO defense ministers are arriving in Brussels this morning for their second day of meetings. The gathering will be dominated by discussions of Ukraine and increasing defense spending. Wednesday's talks are overshadowed by the blunt remarks of newly appointed U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, making his first NATO appearance in the post. His controversial statement about Ukraine's unrealistic goal of returning to 2014 borders made headlines across the world. Following the arrival of the ministers, today's schedule will begin with a doorstep statement from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and remarks from Hegseth. Meanwhile, another crucial meeting of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group is also scheduled to begin on Thursday.
Morning, good to see you all. Just a quick doorstep before we start with today's meetings. Clearly, a lot happened yesterday in the meeting, but also in the media. And no doubt that will be debated today and over the coming days and weeks. But there's also a clear convergence emerging. We all want peace in Ukraine, rather sooner than later. We all want Ukraine to be in the best possible position when those talks start, to make sure that they can be concluded successfully. And as also Pete Hegseth said yesterday, the new American Secretary of Defense, it is crucial that whatever comes out of those talks, it is durable, it is enduring. No Minsk III. We cannot have that again. We cannot have Putin again trying to capture a square kilometer, a square mile of Ukraine in the future. Then, of course, we will also discuss today spending. We have to spend more, not only because the US expects that, because they expect Europe to take its and pay its fair share, but also we have to spend more because we know the threat coming from Russia and from other adversaries is increasing. And that will be debated today. And here, I think there is a clear expectation from the side of the US, but also a clear commitment yesterday that this alliance is here to stay for the generations to come. And we will discuss today the defense industrial base, how to produce more. We are not producing enough, and this is a collective problem we have from the US up to and including Turkey and including the whole of the European Union, Norway, UK. We have fantastic defense industries, but we are not producing enough. We are producing in 3 months an ammunition. No, I would say Russia is producing in 3 months an ammunition, what the whole of the alliance is producing in a year. And this is simply not sustainable. We have to ramp up the defense industry production. So these issues will be on the table today in the Ministers of Defense meeting, and then afterwards also in the lunch we will have with Minister Umerov of Ukraine, where we discuss the relations between NATO and Ukraine. So thank you very much. Maybe a few questions. I can only do one question at a time. Yes.
Okay. Do you think that Secretary Hegseth rhetoric that we heard yesterday was in any way harmful to NATO? Just the way he talked about.
As I said, Secretary Hegseth, but also what later came out of Washington, clearly were big announcements. And at the same time, this is how an alliance should be governed. We are an alliance of democracies. We need to debate, and also I see a clear convergence, as I said, that we want peace, that the peace has to be enduring, that we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position, and for the Europeans to step up in defense spending and collectively to step up the defense industrial production. So here there is a clear convergence. Sure. Yes.
It's clear that things have changed here. What direction is this alliance now going?
This alliance is a family. As Pete Hegseth says yesterday, and so many others, it is there for generations to come. We are there to make sure that we have the best possible deterrence in place to fight off any adversary now and in the future. But it means that we have to get to a good deal in Ukraine. We have to ramp up defense spending. We have to ramp up defense industrial production. These are clear tasks we collectively have. We will debate them. We might not always agree immediately, but as always in the end, we come to common positions.
So you have said, your mantra has been, no decisions about Ukraine without Ukraine. Yet yesterday we saw Donald Trump having a phone call with President Putin without Ukraine. He's going to meet President Putin without Ukraine. This looks to many like the beginning of the betrayal of Ukraine.
What we have seen yesterday was the statements coming out of Washington, including, and you forget to mention that, his long phone call with President Zelenskyy. So we will see how this progresses from now on, step by step. Of course, it is crucial. We talk about Ukraine, that Ukraine is closely involved in everything happening about Ukraine.
The the U.S. press corps. Thanks for doing this. Do you consider President Trump's phone call with Putin the beginning of peace negotiations?
It clearly gives that impression that it was a successful phone call. We all want peace in Ukraine. Obviously, we have to make sure that Ukraine is in the best possible position. It is crucial that when a peace deal is struck, that peace deal is enduring. That Putin knows that this is the end, that he can never again try to capture a piece of Ukraine. So that has to be part of those negotiations, and no doubt that is also on the mind of President Trump and the American team. And today and the coming days and the coming week, obviously, we will closely coordinate between allies. Final question, and then we'll meet again at the post-ministerial press conference. So, yes.
It's the best possible position for Ukraine. Would it be even stronger and better if things like the return of occupied territory and NATO membership would still be on the table?
Well, what I've said before, I believe we have to make sure that we concentrate on the big issues. And the one big issue, number one, is to make sure, and talks start, that Ukraine is in a position that Putin knows he has to come to the table. It is for him crucial to come to a deal on Ukraine, so Ukraine has to be in a strong position. And again, as I said before, it is crucial that when a deal is struck, that deal will not unravel. We have seen in 2014 what happened with Minsk. We thought that deal was there to stay. It didn't. Putin simply continued trying to grab pieces of Ukraine. And then on 2022, he started the full onslaught late February 2022. We can never, ever have that again. So I'm absolutely pro-peace. I am pro-peace talks. Absolutely, but at the same time we have to make sure that what comes out of those talks is there to stay and that Ukraine then is safe. Thank you so much. We'll meet again later today.
Thank you so much. And so you are watching a doorstep statement from NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte coming to us live from Brussels. And as we heard, we're going to hear more statements after the ministerial meetings, which will take place throughout the day. The foreign ministers of Poland, France and Spain have commented on the negotiations between Moscow and Washington. Speaking from Paris, EU officials insisted that any peace deal in Ukraine could not be achieved without the involvement of the authorities in Kyiv.
Poland will unwaveringly seek intensified military support for Ukraine and continued pressure through sanctions on the Russian Federation. Further support for Ukraine and reinforcement of its defense capacity before potential talks with Russia will no doubt feature prominently in our discussions. Ukraine's security and stability are crucial for our continent, and I hope my partners share that view.
There will be no just and lasting peace in Ukraine without the participation of the Europeans, whether it be within NATO, alongside NATO, or in addition to NATO. For peace to be lasting, that is to say, for us not to go back 10 years with a ceasefire that has been violated 20 times before opening the way to a large-scale invasion of Ukraine, then Europeans will have to be able to provide their support. And the Europeans will not be able to provide their support if they are not involved in the discussion in one way or another. Nothing can be decided about Ukraine without Ukraine, and nothing can be decided about European security and Russian aggression in Ukraine, which clearly affects European security, without Europe.
And so this would be all for now, but please do stay tuned here on TVP World. We're back in just a moment with an interview with Ashim Kumar.